Welcome to LA Controversial, your inside guide to the more colourful side of life in the limelight. As his name suggests, shock rocker Marilyn Manson is all about extreme opposites. Born Brian Hugh Warner in 1969, his stage name, combining Marilyn Monroe with murderer Charles Manson, was chosen to symbolize the ultimate disturbing dualism of American culture. His zombie makeup, spooky contact lenses, outlandish costumes, and theatrical stage performances helped him and his band of the same name develop a cult following, which grew into a worldwide fan base. Rubbing politicians and religious leaders up the wrong way with his lyrical references to sex, drugs, and violence has propelled 3 of Marilyn Manson's albums to platinum status, the most successful of which was 2003's Golden Age of the Grotesque.
The most interesting and the most exciting part about it is the exhilaration of the creation, which is captured in the record. It's that feeling of shoplifting or speeding.
Fanning the flames of controversy and handing the band maximum publicity ahead of their Croatian gig in 2005, protesters lobbied until the last minute in a desperate bid to cancel the concert. The Gothic giant shrugged off the incident, but on arriving in London with his then-fiancée Dita Von Teese, he laughed at the hypocrisy of the protests.
Some priests were trying to pay me not to play, but the hotel I was staying in, there were 12-year-old kids gambling and drinking beer, so I don't really see what my threat was, you know, because I don't like to gamble. I don't drink beer either. It's not good for my slender figure.
He was given a warmer welcome at the annual Kerrang Awards, where he was honored with the prestigious Icon Award.
I mean, the thing about Manson that I've always liked is that, you know, he's challenged the mores of America continuously through his music, and it's really important. There's a long history of satire and of challenging basically the society that we live in that goes back like 500 years within art, and Manson is, you know, spearheading all of that now.
Having shaken things up with his music, the man in the makeup mask was preparing to make waves in the art world. In 2006, he opened up an art gallery and sold his own watercolors.
Because I use a children's watercolor kit for a lot of my paintings, that's why they're very bright. People probably imagine if I painted something, it would be like in dog feces or blood or something. But there is blood in some of them, but the only other medium that I've really incorporated recently is, besides like other types of paint, I put absinthe a lot of times in my paintings.
But perhaps the most controversial thing about his assault on fine art was its rather exorbitant price tag. After initially declaring his reluctance to part with his paintings, he was happy to charge anywhere from $8,000 to $35,000 for a piece of his work, which sells under the banner of the Celebritarian Corporation, with the slogan, "We sell our shadow to those that stand in it." The next creative outlet on Marilyn's hit list was the film Phantasmagoria: The Visions of Lewis Carroll, which he produces, directs, and stars in. It was supposed to see the light of day back in 2007, but as yet, there's been no firm release date. In the meantime, he's given the media plenty to write about with his private life. Barely had his 2007 split from Dita Von Teese hit the gossip pages, then he was snapped canoodling with 19-year-old actress Evan Rachel Wood. The controversy deepened when the pair got hot and heavy in the video to Marilyn's single Heart-Shaped Glasses. After taking some time off to pursue their respective careers, they've since reunited and got engaged. Scarlett Johanssen brings a healthy dose of voluptuousness to a red carpet more regularly populated by female stars weighing little more than their coat hangers. She's topped just about every poll of the world's sexiest women, and her response to all the fuss has been simply, "Maybe people think I look sexy because I feel sexy. I'm very liberated that way."
How could a girl say no, you know?
She insists, however, that she wasn't quite liberated enough to have had sex with Benicio del Toro in a lift at the age of 19. as was once claimed by a Hollywood tabloid. She's also been linked to the likes of Justin Timberlake and Jared Leto, by gossip columnists eager to label her promiscuous. And it's not only in real life that the media have found the Danish-Polish starlet's sexuality too hot to handle. In 2005, her performance in the film Black Dahlia was declared too sexually overpowering by the critics.
I don't know, you know, it's hard to get a perspective on that when it's you, I guess, but I hope that's not true. I mean, it's nice to be sexy and everything, but hopefully that's not overwhelming, you know, hopefully it's in balance with the rest of the story.
In balance with the rest of the story or not, all reporters wanted to know was whether or not she was dating her Black Dahlia co-star, Josh Hartnett.
And is it nice this year being here with your partner?
You know, I'm not going to talk about that.
But her refusal to talk about the relationship didn't stop the paparazzi from following them around like lost puppies.
Guys, right here. I'm having a terrific time. We'll see you later. Josh!
In the end, however, they were barking up the wrong tree. Scarlett and Josh split up at the end of 2006, blaming their conflicting busy schedules for the rift. That left the door open for Canadian heartthrob Ryan Reynolds, who had just broken off his engagement to Alanis Morissette. At the age of 23, Scarlett was persuaded to say "I do" in a private ceremony on Vancouver Island in September 2008. It remains to be seen whether her self-confessed concerns about monogamy have finally been laid to rest. Kiefer William Frederick Dempsey George Rufus Sutherland has never painted himself as a knight in shining armor. In fact, he's earned a reputation for being painfully truthful about his personal failings. In an interview with Rolling Stone magazine, he called himself selfish and self-absorbed for thinking that if he worked really hard, he should be able to reward himself by going out and getting blind drunk. He also confirmed reports that he'd recently attacked a Christmas tree in a London hotel lobby and had repeatedly punched a stranger who'd insulted his wife. His willingness to admit to his penchant for hard liquor, however, did not amount to a decision to put paid to his bad behavior. 5 months after giving the Rolling Stone interview, he was arrested for drunk driving, while still on probation from a previous offence in 2004. He returned to court in December to plead no contest to the charge of driving under the influence and was sentenced to 48 days in jail. Ironically, his on-screen character in 24 is the complete antithesis of his real-life alter ego. While Kiefer sometimes has difficulty finding his own shoes in the morning, crack counter-terrorist agent Jack Bauer is capable of saving the world before breakfast in each nail-biting hour-long episode that plays out in real time. Having said that, Jack is far from a squeaky clean hero. The shades of grey in his on-screen world have given Kiefer plenty to hang on to as an actor.
Nothing is a clean victory and nothing is a clean loss, and I think all of us understand that, and I think that that's what made him relatable to an audience, and it was certainly one of the great aspects of him that made him relatable to me as an actor.
And like Kiefer himself, Jack is no stranger to regret.
I think we all have that to some degree. I think there are things in our lives that we hold on and treasure, and there are things that we wish we had not experienced. And again, those are the things that make him a very accessible character to me.
These days for Kiefer, it's all about working and playing hard. His contract with 24 requires him to shoot 18 hours of television per series, which is the equivalent of 10 feature films in less than 6 months. Miraculously, no matter how ugly things may get in his downtime, he's managed to remain the consummate professional on set. Since 2002, when he won a Golden Globe for Best Performance by a Lead Actor in a Drama Series, he's picked up an Emmy, 2 Screen Actors Guild Awards, and countless other accolades that bear witness to the consistency of his commitment to the job he loves.
Tonight has been an honor but it's also an incredibly humbling experience. The other actors in that category are fantastic. They are friends. And the other shows that were nominated this evening, I think, are fantastic as well. So it's a humbling feeling, and very grateful to have had the opportunity.
At the 2008 premiere of the 24 movie Redemption, co-star Jon Voight couldn't have given him a more glowing character reference.
Just working with Kiefer, and anybody who thinks that a guy who's on a long-running show gets stale or tired of doing it, definitely not with Kiefer. It's like he just stepped on the set and it was the first day. He's wanting to make it good and pushing the envelope, and it's great.
Unfortunately, however, Kiefer hadn't quite learned how to apply his professional attitude to his personal life. A year later, he was in trouble with the law again, this time for allegedly headbutting a fashion designer in a New York City nightclub. He later apologized, and the assault charges were dropped. Kate Moss from Croydon may not have scored the best grades in school, but she went straight to the top of the class in modelling after being spotted by Storm model founder Sarah Dukas at an airport at the age of 14. Since then, Kate's face has gone on to grace 300 magazine covers, winning her contracts to star in countless global advertising campaigns for the likes of Dior, Versace, Burberry, Louis Vuitton, Bulgari, and lingerie label Argent Provocateur.
Kate Moss has got something that no one else has got, and no one else can find it, and so that's why they use Kate, because she's the best at what she does.
But even as her star was rising in the 90s, Kate was courting controversy. First up, it was her weight. With her waif-like frame stretching to a mere 5'6" tall, she contrasted sharply to the curvy Amazonian forms of Cindy Crawford and Naomi Campbell. The emphasis on her gaunt features in photographs prompted former US President Bill Clinton to speak out about the growing trend of heroin chic. Kate insisted she wasn't anorexic, but the paparazzi already had her pegged as a potential golden goose. Early on in her career, the British tabloids made claims that she habitually used cocaine. Kate dismissed them as ridiculous and successfully sued the Sunday Mirror for claiming she'd slipped into a drug-induced coma in Spain. But in 1998, when she checked into a psychiatric centre, no one was buying the story that she was merely suffering from exhaustion. While the paparazzi maintained that she was on the nasties, loyal friends were saying she was suffering from depression over her separation from longtime lover Johnny Depp, who was in the process of reinventing his image from philandering party boy to faithful family man.
I think Kate is an unfortunate person who perhaps has one of those obsessive, depressive personalities which latches on to something as a kind of, life jacket.
Kate later admitted to getting high and drinking champagne before hitting the catwalk, and her private life continued to fascinate the media. There was also plenty of speculation that she was carrying on an affair with Jude Law's ex-wife, Sadie Frost.
If people want to write things that are untrue, then let them do it, but it's not going to affect any of us.
Throughout it all, Kate continued to show up for work, impressing everyone with her professionalism.
Without a doubt, she's the best model I've ever worked with, All you really have to do is get the light right, and then she hears the shutter, and every time the shutter goes, she gives you another look. So I'd say she is called a supermodel because actually she is the best supermodel around. She's the best at her job. She is the Schumacher of modeling,
But when she fell in love with trainwreck musician Pete Doherty, telephoto lenses were tracking her every move, trembling with anticipation of her imminent downfall.
Ruining lives, you happy? Do you enjoy doing that? Do you
The Baby Shambles frontman made no secret of his multiple addictions, and the pair were frequently photographed holding each other up at openings, awards and nightclubs. The tightrope she'd been walking finally snapped in September 2005, when Kate was splashed across tabloid front pages, apparently sniffing cocaine at a Baby Shambles recording session. One witness to the incident alleged that she'd snorted a whopping 5 lines in just 40 minutes. With the police out to question her over the photos, Kate skipped the country and the knives came out.
You can't take drugs and expect to be plastered over the whole of Oxford Street and over billboards all over the country. It's just not ethical.
She was dropped like a stone from contracts with Burberry, Chanel and H&M. However, not everyone had it in for the fallen fashion icon. In fact, there was no shortage of support from some very high-profile friends.
My mate Kate.
Your mate Kate. I mean, what's your take on it?
I just think leave Kate alone. She's fantastic. You know, her taxes alone sort of like, you know, help hospital wards. You know, I can't explain it. She hasn't done anything wrong to anybody. And if she dabbles in stuff and she's a bit of a party person, that's just purely her business. It doesn't interfere with her work or her looks, and it's nobody's business. Leave Kate alone.
I find the way that some people in various media groups who I have personally taken cocaine with are now talking about and saying that she shouldn't take cocaine.
Even catwalk colleague and fellow headline hogger Naomi Campbell came out in Kate's defense.
She hasn't killed anybody. She's a human being, and I think it's really like a vendetta. And she's, as my friend, and she's still my friend, I stand behind her and support her in her recovery.
From her hiding hole in Paris, Kate issued an apology, saying she would take the difficult yet necessary steps to resolve her issues. Miraculously, within a year, she was back in everyone's good books, and it was as if nothing had happened.
I think the thing is, though, this is a bit of a myth that, you know, everyone was turning their backs on Kate. No one was turning their backs on Kate. She's a great model. She's very good at what she does, and people haven't stopped using her. I mean, it doesn't matter to me at all.
Her phenomenal bounce back saw her income leap from £5 million a year before the scandal to £8 million the year after. But with recent rumours abounding that she's been engaging in late-night hotel room romps with rock stars of both sexes, it's too early to close the book on Kate Moss yet. When Marilyn Monroe describes you to the world as the only person I know who's in worse shape than I am, you know you've got problems. Marilyn worked with Montgomery Clift in 1961 in the Arthur Miller film The Misfits. It was her last completed film, and also Clark Gable's. Montgomery managed 3 more, but only just. 5 years later, at the age of only 45, he was dead from a heart attack, brought on by years of drug and alcohol abuse. On the 12th of May 1956, during the shooting of Raintree County, Monty was driving home after a party at co-star Elizabeth Taylor's house when he smashed into a telephone pole. His life was saved by Liz, who removed 2 teeth lodged in his throat, but his face and career were never the same again. The accident wasn't the start of his problems, though, which many believe stemmed from confusion and shame over his homosexuality. Never something to be advertised in 1950s Hollywood, and certainly not for a young man hyped as a handsome matinee idol. On and off-screen, the 4-time Oscar-nominated but increasingly vulnerable Montgomery inspired love and loyalty from both men and women. Montgomery was a new breed of actor, capitalizing on the post-World War II trend for more tormented and introspective leading men, and paving the way for actors like James Dean. It is perhaps no coincidence that neither of them survived long in the cutthroat world that is Hollywood. As the daughter of a legendary singer, still referred to by millions as the King, Lisa Marie Presley was destined to live her life in the glare of the spotlight. Given the huge act to follow, it's not surprising that Lisa Marie didn't get started on her own career until quite late. No doubt it took a lot of courage to follow in the footsteps of an artist who has had more US #1 singles than any other solo male act.
But that's a tall order. I mean, that is a tall order, so I don't think I realized that, how tall that was. But it's not, you know, I know that that's an impossible mountain to climb in its entirety. However, like I said, if I hadn't broken through to some degree and found out that I did manage to get fans that actually some of them did or did not know who he was, based on my honesty, based on my music, based on whatever it was, my own personality, not something else that was sort of depicted of me. That sort of saved me.
Now in her 30s and onto her third album, she's well on her way to establishing a name for herself in the music business. But in her younger days, it was all about Lisa Marie's love life. While still officially married to her first husband, Danny Keough, she shocked the world by hooking up with perhaps the most eccentric man in show business. At the time, a deeply troubled Michael Jackson was embroiled in a controversy that was about to send his career and private life into a tailspin. In the light of accusations by 13-year-old Jordan Chandler, Michael's self-confessed obsession with children was being eyed with growing suspicion. Despite Michael's continued claims of innocence, the civil lawsuit against him was gathering momentum. The tide of public opinion was turning against him. Perhaps after witnessing the media frenzy that perpetually surrounded her father Elvis, Lisa Marie kept in contact with Michael over the phone. He in turn became dependent upon her for emotional support, and Lisa Marie has since explained that she believed he was wrongly accused and found herself falling for him. Just 20 days after her divorce from Danny became final, they skipped off to the Dominican Republic together and married in secret. As soon as news of their wedding became public, the media had a field day, with columnists declaring their marriage the most bizarre celebrity hookup of the century. In a later interview with Oprah Winfrey, Lisa Marie's mother Priscilla said she'd been suspicious from the start and was convinced that Michael was trying to use her daughter to produce children descended from Elvis. Lisa Marie ended up filing for divorce just 20 months into a marriage that she's since labeled insane. But that didn't stop her from rushing headlong into another bizarre union with the famously idiosyncratic actor and self-confessed Elvis freak Nicolas Cage. They married in Hawaii in 2002. Less than 4 months later, Nick filed for divorce. Lisa Marie has since married her guitarist and recently became the mother of twin girls.